All right. So this cycle, if you had told me that wrestling and politics was going to cross over as much as it would have, I would have just started this show as wrestling with politics, which is a good name, by the way. I might be doing segments, if anything, at this point because it's becoming so prominent. Number one, Fox News kind of started this. They got Tyrus. If you don't know who he is, then I'm not even going to bother explaining. But he's a wrestler with a smaller company who, for some reason, is also a political commentator. And then it started becoming more broad because Hulk Hogan formally endorsed Donald Trump this cycle, and it kind of started causing more of the like wrestling talk within politics. And then, all of a sudden people started getting reminded of the fact that Donald Trump was part of a WrestleMania angle with Vince McMahon, blah, blah, blah. And then the Vince McMahon stuff happens, and all of a sudden the mainstream media starts getting interested in, the stories behind wrestling again. It's just like, whoa, what is happening? This is crazy. So, yeah, it happened again where Fox News has been bringing on Hulk Hogan, and it finally reached the radar of a guy in my lexicon, Sam Seder. I know that you guys all know who he is if you watch my content. So, Sam decided to talk about, or he decided to give his takes on this situation, which I kind of find funny. So I wanted to take a look at that real quick. So let's go.
We mentioned earlier that, and I think this is well known at this point, the Trump campaign set out to target male voters, young male voters, low propensity young male voters. And what young male voters want is stuff like that Owen Schroyer thing we played earlier, where you have young women saying abortion is my top issue in terms of the election, because that makes men feel like, oh, these girls don't know what they're doing. They're voting based upon an issue that's important to them and not me.
They should be freaking out about the border like I am.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because you got to really think about this too. Like, I've been wondering about, like, because you don't have the Howard Stern shock jockery anymore. Opie and Anthony is like a very old school idea now. Like, the closest thing you have to it is Joe Rogan, which ironically came from the school of Opie and Anthony. But even that is so like watered down in comparison as far as like shock jockery and all that kind of stuff, and just everybody being, hyper aware. And you could also call it cancel culture a little bit, where it is like, yeah, people with thinner skin. But even it's kind of funny, even like the guys that would want to be listening to that stuff now, they're so much like more in tune with things that you don't say just because it's not cool. Like, I have a feeling that a lot of these guys would hear a bit from Opie and Anthony and just go, not cool, man. Like, why is that so mean spirited? But he's right on this one. Although to say that it's a younger cohort of male voters, I hate to break the news to you, but women's wrestling is very popular. You have a lot, and I'm not even just saying this, like, you have a lot of young girls that are into the product. So I've always gotten really defensive about this kind of stuff. Obviously, like, I've always been defensive as a wrestling fan. I mean, it's one of the first things that you learn to do as a kid, where it's just like, it's not fake. Then you're like, well, okay, it's staged, but it's a production. And yeah, it was like I was like 9 or 10 when I finally did figure it out. But then when people were like, yeah, it's fake, I'm like, did you not just see like the Swanton bomb? Or like, thank God for guys like Rey Mysterio, where finally people were like, this is like Cirque du Soleil. Sorry, didn't mean to stun luck on wrestling, but.
And I don't know. I guess there is a cohort. I mean, wrestling fans, young people, I guess, but I don't know if wrestling fans even know who Hulk Hogan is anymore. Maybe they do.
Come on. He's a legend. And most people, this kind of goes like with, I hate to say this, but like the gay trans thing, where like teaching your kids about it and not teaching your kids about it. Not teaching your kids about it is going to hold them back. And then they're going to walk into this world when they're about 10, 11 years old and go, there's what now? Yeah. You don't want to do that. You don't want to shield your kids from just, information that's going to be out there. And Hulk Hogan kind of does fit that line where it's like, yes, he was racist. Yes, he is an awful person, but I hate to say this, he was a legend. And if without him, we would not have this business today. I hate to admit that.
But here is Jesse Waters, one of the, really creepy style men. You'll recall the way that he basically started his second marriage, right?
Oh, I don't know, but entrapped his current wife into a marriage.
Yeah, he let the air out of her tires when she
Literally.
was going home, and then she needed a ride home, so he gave it to her. I guess this is from Fox. Incidentally, they also sell things like pepper spray and alarms if you come across this in a parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, here is Jesse
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Waters interviewing Hulk Hogan.
Speaking from, and you'll know exactly who they are. So when they say that Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan and stuff like that doesn't make Trump one with the people or a blue collar worker, if you listen to where people are speaking from and you put Buttigieg up there, Trump definitely wouldn't be a man of the people. That's how it really is, brother. But by the way,
What's he implying?
just to correct you, Jesse Waters,
Yeah.
I know about Waters and your world and all that stuff. Well, this is Trumpomania, and this is his country, brother.
All right, I'll give it to him just for this show, but not after that. I'm going to be taking it back. We saw you ripping your shirt off at the RNC. They've been saying that men that lift weights are fascists. Can you just kind of remind?
I'm pretty sure Dave Bautista, well, he did get smaller. But no, what? Like, do you know how many woke wrestlers there are? What are you?
Democrats, because they didn't use.
Ooh, Macho Madness was actually supposed to be woke madness, but they didn't want me to go with that. No women's rights. Yeah, Vince McMahon wasn't all about that. Yeah, you saw what happened with the women in the Attitude Era. Yeah, that's why I left the company. Went to WCW. Yeah.
To be like this. Can you
Get away from that meathead mitt. Oh, wait a minute. He was the star there too. Uh-oh.
remind Democrats what American men are made of?
God, just to think how much history they had and how much professionalism that there had to be for Macho Man to, be the guy for Hulk Hogan to leg drop brother and reinvent his career.
Well, brother, at the end of the day, there's a chain of command, our Lord and Savior, the wife and the husband and the kids. And at the end of the day, the mother is to nourish, but the man is to protect, serve, and provide.
Okay. Well, this just went from fun wrestling discussion into a little bit of a religious discussion. Yay! Feel free to check out if you want to, because I'm sorry. I can't abide by this crap. My mom is in a relationship with a super religious guy that thought like this when they first started dating, and it was one of those things where I had always learned about this kind of crap, and you know what? It really, this is so dumb, but it stems from the Adam and Eve thing where it's like, oh, God took a rib and then created a woman, which, yeah, go count ribs, guys, and then reconcile with that one. Because, yeah, there's a lot. Do you know how many stupid people are out there that honest to God think that a woman has an extra rib because that God took a rib from a man and that just carried over genetically? Yeah, that's a real thing. They also never like to talk about the fact that, there was only a man and a woman, then they had sons. Then what? Yeah. Awkward. Yeah, weird. It makes the Cain and Abel things make a little more sense, but also like where it's like the love triangle with Adam, well, where was he and all that? Yeah, uncomfortable, I know, but that's the Bible, kids. But this has always been something that, like the patriarchal version of, oh, the woman is just there to nurture and she's not, don't you dare worry your little head, just be there for the children. No agency. Yeah. This is where it starts, guys, and this is where it comes from. And for some reason, you got a whole bunch of people definitely religious people, pastors, like authorities in the religion, that this is their whole message, where they're just like, the woman needs to be subservient to the man at all times. This is where trad wifing comes. So yeah, just remember, women, this is what they want for you. You're just supposed to be the nurturer for the children, incubator, and then this is why after menopause they throw you out and they go get another hotter model. This is reality. Welcome to it.
So at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, is being a real man, being a real...
No, a real man to protect your wife. You mean how divorce was a thing in the Bible? It wasn't. And you mean how you you cheated on your first wife, allegedly. Yeah. You know, this is one of those things where it always drives me up the wall insane when you have a mother effer like this who has done some of the most reprehensible stuff with some of the most reprehensible people on the planet, and then somehow, some way, he's convinced himself that he's holier than thou, and that, you know, like, he's on the right path with God. This is, again, it's all like the feels inside, and even like if you were going by the text of the Bible, he wouldn't be getting in. I'm sorry, that's called false prophet. That's literally the false prophet thing. But here you go, buddy.
real American and get...
Ask Jesus' forgiveness. Well, if you're going to sit there and then go for, somebody like Trump that you can just blatantly ignore everything, every ungodly characteristic of that man, and then also somehow stand behind him and go like, that's Jesus's candidate. No.
Getting this country...
Sorry, you guys, you took the stupidest people, the most susceptible amongst us. Honestly, I'm actually sad about this one, because people who seek religion are generally doing it to fill a void. But this is what you gave them.
And making it not how it used to be, but how it should be, brother.
When you...
Okay, brother.
Yeah. All right, brother. Macho man, a little bit of a meathead, yeah.
I mean, this may resonate with people, but
actually, Hulk Hogan, my bad. Well, Macho Man. Actually, no. Macho, for all of his character antics, he was a very smart person, very caring. He did a whole lot of those, like the John Cena stuff, the Make-A-Wish stuff. Yeah, like he was really big into that. He was really big into his dogs. He was childless. But he cared so much about kids. Like, no, Macho Madness was the real deal. Yeah. Weird how the heel turned out to be the good guy. Yeah.
some people, but you've heard me say over and over again
Sorry.
that all the trans
I'm done with my Macho Man impression.
stuff, that all the issues with like high value men, even like back to Gamergate, all of this stuff Hulk Hogan just told you there is a fundamental hierarchy that starts the series that starts at the top of the hierarchy. And it's not man over woman, it's God over man. And then it's man over women.
And then brother.
And brother.
And then brothers. It's brothers over women.
But
hey, we used to have a whole thing about that, the bros before hoes.
But when we say that
Stupidest mentality.
The issue of, the political issue
Of just wait a minute. Let's go back to that. Bros before hoes thing, that's the people that we're talking about. That's the people that we're trying to court here. Are we really going to worry about this?
trans women in women's sports is not about women's sports.
No.
It is about
I don't give.
freaks
Yeah.
who, for whatever reason, maintain a notion of the patriarchy.
Mm-hmm. No, and they're also just blatantly scared of passing trans women. Like, that's the biggest thing that needs to just be, we need to bring this to the forefront, guys. They're scared of passing trans women. That's it. That is blatantly it.
And the
When it comes to a dude who has, like, if he starts talking about trans issues, that's it. And also even women. I think that some women are starting to get a little, like, angry that it's like, well, she's prettier than me and she's trans.
patriarchy is simply a essentially the human version of religious hierarchy.
Mm-hmm. So
God, who also happens to be a man, of course, and then human, and by human we mean man, and then woman, who of course was derived from the man, and then children. And whether it's trans issues or whether it's like women caring about abortion rights, that's why they're voting. Like they're putting themselves and their own, like, you know, their ability, you know, their reproductive rights above my sense of, you know,
manliness,
national
of
chauvinism.
Yeah, exactly.
All of this stuff emanates from religious fundamentalism.
Boom. There it is.
And often it gets laundered through other things. This is about ethics and gaming reporting, or this is about the integrity of women's sports, or, you know, this is protect the children, or whatever it is. What it is at its root is a freak out about gender and gender roles. Mm-hmm. And that comes from religious fundamentalism. Some instances, the people know that they're operating on it. Some instances, they don't know.
Well, yeah, actually, he has a good point there, because if you're so entrenched in your religion, you're not constantly thinking about, like, what I said about the rib thing and all that. I mean, if you're breaking down your argument, sure, it'll come down to that, but no, a lot of these guys, they're just going to church and they're getting the affirmation from the pastor that they are above their wife and they need to constantly think that way, which dude, even as a Christian, I didn't think that way. I used to think that that was really messed up, how they would always talk about women as like second-class citizens. And I would ask about it and they would just be like, well, technically, like I would have female teachers kind of like just break down essentially and go, technically we are. It's like, wow. Okay.
If you walked around with a swastika, you could have just seen the image and said, that's a cool image. I'm going to make a t-shirt with that.
Well, I mean, the swastika was appropriated, you know, it was, you know, from Hindu culture and other cultures. It was almost like a yin yang kind of thing.
And walk around with it and go like, you know what? I'm like, I believe I should wear this thing without any knowledge of where this idea or what it represents comes from. And that's what I'm talking about with this sort of like gender freak out. Now, other people may have some other, you know, issues around gender that they're struggling with.
Come on, Sam. That, I don't know. Again, like I hate to harp on the history of the swastika, but again, that's negating the fact that it was completely appropriated. And we as a culture, not even just a culture, we as humanity, like this is how bad of a mess up that Hitler made, was that essentially the whole world was just like, yeah, you know, that symbol you appropriated
individually. And then this sort of like wind of what society and traditional society and religious society sort of like brushes up against their own insecurities, and that becomes, you know, fuel for their gender war. But understand that these constructs exist because of religious fundamentalism.
Well, yeah, it's the whole abortion thing to begin with. Like, can we ever acknowledge the fact that, like, the abortion issue really does stem from a bunch of guys thinking that they know better than women, and maybe, just maybe, that women wanting agency over their own bodies, and also just, I don't know, being told by these guys that they don't deserve said agency over their bodies would maybe result in some pushback. You know, it's almost like they would learn a lesson from what happened to like cause such a court case that would create Roe v. Wade. What kind of circumstances would have led to that? History, who needs it? Ugh. Anyway, well, this was, as I said, a fun little unexpected video for me. I'm the wrestling content keeps coming into my, the wrestling content keeps mixing in with my political content. It's the Reese's of content for me. Anyway, All right. Well, we've reached that point of the stream where I really appreciate you guys still being here. If you guys could leave a like, comment, and subscribe, I'd really appreciate that. Trying to reach 1,000 subs. I also have memberships available on my channel now. Hey, and super thanks. So if you guys want to fund me doing this and also just make it so I can do this full time, I'd really appreciate that. It's kind of wild, living the dream, you know. So, but no, sincerely do appreciate you guys checking out my content, and I'll see you in the next one.